Hey, welcome to the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute with your host, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest, Alan Bishop. Hey, this channel is all about home distilling and legal distilling. If you've got questions, reach out to us in the comments below, social media, or via bishopshomegrown@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out thealchemistcabinet.com. Hey guys, back again with the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute. More rapid fire viewer questions or talking head videos, however you want to look at them. I promise, as always, there are more process videos coming. I've got one coming on the yellow angel magic yeast. Those fermentations have actually gone very well and are finishing up now. I did not heat them as far as keeping the temperature up with the fermentation, so they've been very slow fermentations, but neither of them have been a mash fermentation. They've all been done with either steaming water or just barely boiling water and no long cook time or temperatures. And I am very impressed thus far. If the product tastes good coming off the still, I'm full on into this yellow magic yeast from Angel for sure. I also just got done doing a mash and using agave syrup again. And this time what we did was Blue Weber agave that we smoked a good portion of with mesquite. We also did a bunch of Honeycrisp apples with mesquite. And then to that, we added some black oil sunflower seeds in tribute to St. Sparrow and Michael Stallings. And we added a little bit of coffee. What we're going for here is a very roasty, toasty, earthy, round, smoky, fatty agave spirit tribute, right? It's not mezcal. It's not meant to be mezcal, but it's meant to be mezcal-like for home distillers. And that is being done because I'm also working with Bad Motivator. There's a podcast coming here shortly from Distillers Talk that we've already recorded, myself and Christy Atkinson, where we sat down and went in depth with Ben from Bad Motivator Barrels. And he sent some samples over here that really impressed the hell out of me with those little barrels. And so I will be working with him quite extensively into the future, bearing in mind that these barrels do not speed up in any way, shape, or form maturation whatsoever. In fact, they react just like 53-gallon barrels do, but that's what I am after, and that's what I think home distillers should be chasing, as opposed to trying to speed up the process, right? I mean, nothing wrong with playing around with extracting oak and spirits in bottles, nothing wrong with extracting it with Sox extractor, nothing wrong with throwing it into ultrasonic, but these little Bad Motivator barrels, they are not gimmicks. They are legit, the real thing. I know they're a little hard to get a hold of, but get on their contact list, and when you see him come up, go for it, because he's going to be sending along various different toasts and chars and used oak, etc. And I'm sending him some oak as well, some very unique oaks that we'll be able to get some barrels out of and do some really interesting stuff with. I also had the pleasure this past weekend of meeting some family from one of the distilling lines in my family that I'd not met before. And I would love to interview the guy, but he's just not set up for that right now and ready for that. But I think he and I will be spending quite a bit of time together. He'll be sharing some family distillation stuff with me. I had some of his pear moonshine, and it was gorgeous. And some of his flavored moonshines that were absolutely beautiful that his wife makes as well. And I think I'll be able to learn a lot from him, and he'll be able to learn a lot of the in-depth distillation from me. I also noticed you guys seem to really like the beer math video as well as the malt efficiency video. And I'm happy to share those with you and share those formulas with you. And there seemed to have been a response via you guys buying the Alchemist Cabinet Philosophy Volume 1 that we did a couple years ago book, and it has all those formulas in it. And I appreciate those purchases, because all that money goes back either into my research in this channel or into the If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything podcast, or the various other projects that Kim, my wife, and I are working on. So that's a huge deal to me. Reach out to me if you have distillation-related questions. bishopshomegrown@gmail.com, YouTube comments below, and or any of the social media, guys. So with all that being said, we're going to jump into the first question here. So question today coming from Jeff. Hi, I have a question about yeast flavors in rum. I'm planning on making a rum with dark brown sugar, molasses, and oats. I want to add the oats in for the mouthfeel and the earthy notes it can impart. I also think that the oats can buffer the pH some as well as offer nutrients. What kind of yeast would you recommend? I was originally thinking about a whiskey yeast, USW6. I've used with good results, but I have second thoughts and may just use US05 and see what flavor carries over. More of a broader question is, how do you go about matching your mash/wash to a yeast? Thank you, Jeff. Great set of questions. And remember, guys, I'm not a rum guy, so this is I'm not the end-all be-all of rum production. So but I'm going to answer this to the best of my question. I think adding oats to a rum wash is a great idea, especially for mouthfeel and again for those darker flavors. Those long chain amino acids, those long chain fatty acids that get broke down into esters, they just add so much mouthfeel to any product, and you don't need huge proportions of oats to get that. In fact, you can do it with fairly small proportions of oats. And also, always think about toasting oats. Toasting oats changes the flavor dramatically from what they ordinarily are, but you'll still get that creamy, porridgey sort of thing that you're looking for. I do think you'll probably get some nutrients from those oats as well, a little bit of nitrogen. They're probably not the best source of it, but it couldn't hurt anything, right? Right, one way, shape, form, the other. There was a hiccup that I always get whenever I'm doing one of these videos. As far as yeast goes, so me, if I were planning on making a rum, I would probably stray away from whiskey yeast. And the reason that I say that is because whiskey yeast is going to me, most whiskey yeast, most things designed as whiskey yeast, they focus on a certain set of flavors that seem to be very new oak maturation particular, right? So they don't necessarily make the best white spirits in the world. They don't necessarily make the most complex spirits in the world. They sort of pull some graininess to the forefront, and then several of the more like spice sort of notes and a lot of diacetyl quite often, which is that buttered popcorn note. I think there's certainly more interesting yeast that you can use for rum, and I'll throw a few of them at you. I think that if it were me, I'd probably try to focus more on a brandy yeast. EC 1118 obviously is readily available. It could be interesting for a rum, but I think if you can get a hold of it, and I mention these all the time, OK or Vin 13, those are two that I think would be great for this particular mash bill. I also would like to mention that there is a line from LD Carlson called Firm Fast. I learned this from a very good friend of mine, and I won't tell you what product he uses them for or what particular yeast he's using. But these Firm Fast yeasts that come from LD Carlson are really cool. So they are turbo yeast, but they're not turbo yeast like what you guys are used to with the urea and the off flavors and the mineral nastiness that comes across. These particular yeasts are set up with a nutrient pack that is actually made up of amino acids that don't give those off flavors. I have so far played around with a couple different ones. They make one for whiskey, they make one for rum, they make one for fruit. I've played with the fruit and I've played with the whiskey. Both of them have done extremely well. They're extremely fast fermenters, even with high specific gravities. Well, for me, high 1075 from syrups like agave syrup or apple syrup, for example. If they have the right temperature range, you can blast through that stuff in 3 days easily, and have no off flavors, no weirdness to it whatsoever. And I don't know what the base yeast strains are, but they do create some very nice estery spirits that I really, really enjoy. So I can't recommend them highly enough. I also think they would be cool, though, to mix traditions here. So I think one of the things that you could play with potentially is, why not do a rum with a high temperature ferment and some Kveik yeast? That could be really cool, especially those guava, strawberry flavors that Kveik can pull through, and some of that weirdness that Kveik can pull through. I think that would be a really cool experiment and really, really worthwhile for what you're trying to do here with this particular project. I am curious to see how this turns out for you. So when you get it done, let us know, because I'd like to know what kind of flavors you get with those particular ingredients that you're using and the contrast that you might get from those, as well as what yeast you end up going with. So anyways, guys, that's going to be all for this video. We'll get back to you here before too long with another one piece at a time distilling and stew video. Love y'all. Have a great week.